Okay, we're looking at Material Design Stepper in version 10, and we're going to take a look at error handling. So let me go to my documentation with material.angular.io. I zoomed in on components. I'm looking at the categories. I'm going to the stepper, and now I'm going to the examples. And I'm going to look at this particular example, stepper that displays errors in steps. Okay, so this is a sample component of the stepper. You've got mat steps here with forms that you could submit and validate. And let's take a look at what happens if I don't put a mandatory name in my first mat step, which is a form which is being validated where this particular field is required. So what happens is I get this error message, fill out your name, name is required. And the label is still the same, fill out your name. The icon has changed, and the name is required is a new string that I could define in this particular step. So let me go back. Let me see if I could click next. Oh, notice it's not linear, which means I could it's non-linear, which means I could go to the next step. But this field is still not validated. So this form group of this form and this form could possibly both be non-valid at this point. So you have to make a decision what you're going to do in these particular scenarios. The form that's not valid doesn't. You want valid state in your forms before you move on and submit to a web service or something. So that's the thing here. So let's see if I do put my name in. I'm putting my validation. So I could go back and edit this thing because it's not a linear horizontal stepper. I could go back here, but I don't need to. But now I get this event that says this needs to be filled out. So I go, oh, wait a minute, this is filled out already. Let me go back here, and now I fill out my my address. Okay, so that's how the error handling works. It's very, very simple. Let's take a look at the code of this particular example. So notice I'm looking at the stepper errors example. So we know that the angular.json file is saying this is our index, this is our main module. We know that the main module is it's importing the mat form field default options, and we're injecting that in. We have this token as a provider which says the appearance is fill. I'm going to just change this to outline. I have the tendency to like this too, so let's just go with that. And now, if you look at the index has a root component. Now, the main.ts is already declared that as your bootstrap root component. So the module, this particular module that's getting bootstrapped with our application, our Angular application, is bootstrapping this root module to be a stepper errors example, and that's when I go into my components and I look at that particular example. So if you look at this example, you got these stepper global options that you inherit, that you import. And basically, the stepper global options, using a value called show error is true. So this is the token which is configuring my mat stepper component. So let's just revisit what we had here. We had this mat form field default options where I actually was capable of setting the look and feel of the fields. And then I have this stepper global options where I'm capable of showing errors. And so everything else is pretty much the same as any of the examples. The component does have a selector, and it has the two form groups which represent these two forms, and we instantiate the form groups using the form builder, which basically groups some controls with some default values and the validation requirements. And so now let's look at the example template, and let's go and try to figure out what made this so special. Well, each step has this error message option. And so I'm capable in modifying this. Your name is required. Name is required. And like I said, the label stays the same. Fill out your whatever. The label is fill out your name. The error message is name is required. So that really is all that's different about this. And notice each step has its own error message. The other thing to notice here is that the default icon for the error message is being shown. So the state is that it's invalid, and with that invalid state, we're using this particular icon for the error. Now notice that's a default state, and with this error message attribute in the step, it's basically switching the icon. So the mat horizontal stepper is doing that for you. If you wanted to override these icons based on state, you could do that as well. So that's all I really wanted to show about the error messages in this particular example. So let's just move on. We're just trying to get a simple summary overview of the stepper component, and then we could do a deep dive and look at a complicated example and look at questionnaires and how to aggregate questionnaires and how to submit forms and more sophisticated stuff.